Now, to take a flight in RPAS Logger, we need to click on the button in the center of the home screen, which is our flight button. So this straight away opens up the flight window for us. So the first thing we need to do is put in a description for our flight. So I'm going to call this a demo flight. Then we need the location. There's several ways I can put the location in. I can just type it in. I can type in my latitude and longitude, or I can go to the map. Now, first time I use a map, I get a little disclaimer there that tells me that it's only a guide. And now I'm in the process of downloading the airport data. At the moment we have nearly 50,000 airports listed on there worldwide, and we also list all the radio frequencies for those airports where they're available. Okay, so the map's opened up, and you can see here I am in beautiful sunny Kiama. I do my job out there on the headland. So I just close the map now, and it puts that information in for me. It's got the latitude, the longitude already set. Okay, starting date. I can set my date and time, and I'll just take the timers now. Select my airframe, which I could do with the barcode or just off the list. Again, select my battery. If I've got lots of batteries, I just scan the one I've got there. Select my pilot. This is all the information that we've previously set up. And select my accessories. So I'm going to use the GoPro with the gimbal. So moving along. Now you can see here that it's giving me my total flight weight. That's from adding up the weights of all the components that we entered when we were setting them up. So this will tell us whether we're still within the requirements of our regulatory framework. So proceed. Now I can record in here the pre-flight voltages of my battery, which I can get off my little portable meter. I decided when I set up this airframe that I was going to do full logging. So I've got the facilities now to record all of this information. And now we move on to the checklists. We've got our checklist page here with all our different checklist items. We have checklist items that have come from the airframe setup, and we have our checklist item there that we put in for the accessory. So this is a combination of all the pre-flight checklists for everything that we've selected. So I need to go down through those now before the flight. First one there, visual checks, and you can see when that particular item is open, you can see the additional information there, which gives you a little bit more insight or instructions into that particular item. So I say yes to that. Moves automatically to the next one. Yes. Ground station, so if I'm not using a ground station, in this case I can say not applicable. Transmitted correctly configured. Switch it on. Power up the RPA. RPA is ready for flight. All the lights are flashing correctly. And checklist for the GoPro. GoPro is correctly connected. Yes, it is. So moving right along to the little summary there, and I hit the Go Fly button. As soon as I do that, it starts timing the flight for me. I can pause that, and you can see there it's paused, and hit continue again. And then after the flight's finished, I can hit end flight. Now I'm just going to edit that amount and make the flight a bit longer, which I can do by hitting the cross next to is this correct. So I say it's not correct. This also lets you add in historical data. So now it's correct, 9 minutes and 45 seconds. So that will now move me on to the post-flight checklist. So I can go down through the post-flight, normal motor rundown, everything's not hot, battery's not hot. I'll disconnect the ground station, depower the RPA, turn the controller off, check the airframe, propeller's not damaged. Now this last one here is airframe airworthy. If I say no to that, I actually then need to go back into the airframe setup to say that it's airworthy again. So basically that's just to block it from being used if there's something really wrong with it. So there's no accessory checklist for post-flight. Moving on, I can now put in my figures for the after-flight voltages, etc. So I'm just going to put in the post-flight voltages that I'd read off my little field meter. And if they were available on my meter, I could put in the resistances as well if I wanted to. And move on to the final screen. I can enter any notes here about the flight, which will appear later in my listings and printouts. If there are any maintenance notes, so let me just put a maintenance note in here, and I say put something like some vibration. Rebalance props. I could put some notes in there for the accessory too if I wanted to. So I save that, and that's it. The flight's all done. There are some interesting features of RPAS Logger Plus that come into play when you repeat a flight. So you may be doing a whole lot of flights on the same day in the same place. So if I'm repeating a flight, I hit my flight button again in the center there. Now up in the top right is a little copy button, and what that does is essentially copy all the details from one flight to the next. Now you can see there that a warning's come up, because if you remember from the previous flight, we actually entered a maintenance item. So that's just reminding me that that needs to be done. So I can say OK to that and continue if I want to. So now I come to choose the battery, and you'll notice there that it's showing me that the battery's been used and telling me how long it's been used for, and I'm thinking, oh well, I can go a little bit longer on that one, so I can select that battery again. Just telling me that it's not fully charged, make sure everything's good to go. I come along, put in my pre-flight voltages. I really don't know what they'd be for that. So it's a bit of a hypothetical situation. So we'll just pretend that they're that. Go through our checklist again. And we'll go fly. Now the main thing that I wanted to demonstrate here are the alarms that we set previously for the battery. So we set the first alarm to go off at 10 minutes. So it's basically going to go off after 10 minutes of usage time for the battery. And as you can see, it's now gone off. And that's the battery low alarm. Then we have the battery critical alarm, or the battery very low and the battery critical. So these, as you can see, are quite loud and obvious reminders that you're coming to the end of your safe battery life. So I'll just end that flight and I'll save that, go through the checklist. Airframe is airworthy. And there's no more maintenance notes that I want to make there. So that's as easy as it is to repeat a flight. I'd also like to mention a little more at this point about our location map. You can see here a number of red circles on the location map, and they indicate a guide to the controlled airspace areas around the nearby airports, and I can click on any of the airport icons and it'll give me the name of the airport, a few details, plus the radio frequencies that they use. So there's Shell Harbour Hospital, Wollongong Heliport, and Wollongong Hospital. I'll just track up the coast here a little bit to, this is Sydney here, and as you can see there's not a lot of spots where you can fly. So I can click anywhere on the map to move my position indicator there, and at the moment I've got it set to show it, run airfields within 10 kilometres of my position. So you can also see there that there's a warning that I'm inside controlled airspace there. So yeah, this is quite a useful guide and well worth looking at before you take any flights. You can even use it like I'm using it now as a pre-planning tool to make sure where you want to fly there are no airfields. So yep, we think that that's a very, very useful tool. And I'll just give you a quick demonstration. You think you got it bad in Australia? Let's try New York. As you can see, quite a number of airports there. Well, that's about it for the map.